I might sound a little bit like a Russian mafia from a movie. Sorry for that. This is my accent. Before we start, how many of you are familiar with HBO Game of Thrones? Season 6 in particular? Okay. Actually, Game of Thrones is a really popular, violent, and full of blood fantasy TV series, which is surprisingly popular because there's so much blood and battles in that. And I will mention a person from this series who's Jon Snow. He makes lots of stupid mistakes, but somehow still, alive. Frankly, I had huge, worst possible case of imposter syndrome when I saw the list of other speakers. But it was probably too late because the imposter syndrome speech was already taken. So actually, I decided to go with something about freelancer and client-developer, relationship. Sorry, I'm nervous.
You're doing great.
Thanks.
We don't know this each other.
Okay, cool. Yes, I've been freelancing actively for a couple of years, and there were quite a lot of things that I faced when I just started. Actually, before I started being a freelance developer, I used to work for public health campaign in Russia as a media associate. And mostly my job included lots of email writing, lots of mind reading. I have never had particular job description or scope of work, and I used to take my magic wand and force the information out of people, like, Imperio, just tell me what you need me to do. Well, it's kind of frustrating. So when the project was over, I started looking around and trying to understand what do I actually want to do with my life. The internet has its answer. It was full of disgusting pictures from photo stocks with these inspirational quotes. But surprisingly, it actually helped a lot because I had a dream and I had something on my heart. I actually used WordPress for quite a few years at that moment. Just for fun, because I liked it, I built several websites for myself and for my friends. And I said, well, what if this is my true calling? Well, why not give it a go and see how it goes? I had quite a lot of expectations for this job. I definitely thought there would be no more guessing and mind reading. I will deliver websites rather than emails. And there will be much, less communication, no meetings, no conference calls, no strategic planning meetings, no work plan development. And I thought that I will have very particular scope of work for every project, that I will deliver often, and that I will sit in a quiet environment all by myself, playing with WordPress and getting paid for that. The only concern I had is, am I good enough technically? I haven't been a proper developer before. But actually, when I started, I understood that my main concern is not technical, it's like people. Because before, I used to write lots of emails, but with existing clients and partners and contractors. And now I had also to write lots of emails to my potential clients. And not all potential clients actually become clients. So I ended up having more communication than before. And each time I tried to read something about how to be a developer, there was something about being helpful, provide great support, stick to my deadlines, and be client-oriented. How hard could that be? Actually, I found out that for a business of one person, it might be quite overwhelming because I had to establish lots of new procedures. I've never done it before. Let's say payments. All of you have bank account, right? I assure you, your bank choice is wrong. That's how I feel each time I tell a client what kind of bank I have. Because they say, don't you also have an account in my bank? Because it's more convenient for me to transfer money this way. Sometimes it's PayPal. Sometimes it's online money transfer system. Sometimes it's cash. Sometimes it's direct card-to-card payment. And if I am client-oriented, I probably have to be convenient for lots of people. communication channels. Someone writes emails. Someone contacts via Skype. Then we have Viber, WhatsApp, Telegram, and also Facebook Messenger, actually. And time difference, work style difference. Some of my clients have hobby projects and they can work on them only on weekends because they have a day job. And if a client can respond to my emails only on Sundays, she expects me to write her on Sundays. And it means I either have no client or no Sunday. Hosting providers. There are many of clients who already have hosting. And each time I log in into a new hosting account, that's a learning curve there, trying to figure out where the cPanel is. I mean, I don't even want to touch different premium themes topic. Because many clients on small budgets who come to a freelancer, they want their website be built on a particular premium theme. And they insist on that. And I think, well, all right, how hard could that be with Visual Composer and Revolution slider? And then I agree and open it and I start screaming. Because how possibly this could be achieved with those tools? What kind of logic is behind there on backend, actually? But nothing could be done because I'm already in the project. And also support. They say you have to give support to your clients. And I actually found out that I have to make time for this. And I have to make plenty of time to answer questions. And the content. If I wanted to deliver in time, I had to take my magic wand, use it like this, Imperio, send me that logo. Where is the text for the main page? What are your contact information? I actually hoped I won't do that anymore, but, well, I had to. But it's all true if you already have a client. What if you don't have one? As a new freelancer, it might be difficult sometimes to actually find your first client. I know there are websites for freelancers where people compete for their order. I didn't do that. What I personally did, I gave a couple of websites for free. And then I made some networking with bloggers who needed help. And I did it in exchange for recommendations. And that's how actually clients started coming. And I also had my own blog. At the beginning, I was so worried that I don't have a portfolio, I mean, decent, nice portfolio, that I looked at every potential client in addition to my portfolio. And it actually added some frustration in the whole process. It took me several months to understand that people are not here for my portfolio. They're not coming because I'm awesome and they want to bring something to my portfolio. They just have some problems to solve. And that took the pressure off. I still don't have a portfolio, but at least I'm not worrying about it anymore. Another thing that I had to consider as a beginner, do I actually have to take everything that comes my way? Because I'm a beginner, no one knows me. If I start refusing, what if people stop coming? I mean, who am I to pick, to choose? And actually it didn't do me well as well, because I had some projects I really hated because I truly, deeply, madly misunderstood the topic of the website. I thought it's totally wrong and unethical, but I actually had to build it because I took the project, and I felt miserable all the way down. And then there are broken sites. People come and ask to fix something, and it's a very good learning place for a beginner, because you learn how to fix things. But the problem is the more you fix, the more people are coming asking to fix something. And finally, you have no time to actually build something because you're busy fixing broken stuff. And there are projects abandoned by other developers. So the client is looking for a replacement. And you actually never know what was wrong with this project. Was it a bad developer? Was it a bad project? Was it a difficult client? Was it a combination of all of them? So actually, I had all of that stuff, and I decided that I actually have to put my interests first. I have to ask myself, am I developing as a developer with this project? Or am I installing WordPress and the same set of plugins all over again? Am I running on a treadmill and not arriving anywhere? Or I'm actually growing with this? And of course, there are things that I've never done before. let's say a client comes and says, I have a broken payment and delivery system on my actual existing website. Can you fix this for me very fast? And what if I've never done e-commerce before? I should probably take this because, well, there are real money and real deliveries there. But let's say I figured this all out. What kind of client I actually might end up? Well, the first type is people with no technical background, and they are like Jon Snow from Game of Thrones. They know nothing about technical stuff. And it's a good thing. It means they have lots of expertise in other areas I cannot even imagine about. But I finally understood that I'm dealing with this type of clients all wrong. It was once when the client asked me to advise her on what hosting to buy. And I gave her a list of 5 or 6 options and said, well, just choose. And she said, that's frustrating. I don't want to choose. I want someone to take my hand and lead me through the whole process. And that was the moment when I understood where all the potential clients with my list of top 10 premium WordPress themes went. It was like written in clean gone for them. So I would say when you deal with a client with no technical background, it's probably a good idea not to give that much technical choices to the client. It's probably okay to say, okay, let's buy this hosting and I'll use these tools for your website. And it's probably will be totally all right. Another type of clients are those who believed in 5 minutes WordPress installation and tried to build the website themselves. And they're also like Jon Snow. But for those who watched Game of Thrones, it's like season 6, Battle of Bastards. The moment when Jon is in the middle of the battlefield, all covered in blood, when he understood that he will die here today. And that's the moment when these clients are actually looking for help. I mean, it's all right. They learn really fast. They are not afraid of technology. They don't mind to make their hands dirty doing things. The problem is they already have read and implemented that top 10 must-have plugins tutorial, 30 steps to WordPress security tutorial, and probably 15 tools for search engine optimization tutorial as well. So when you first log in, you might find up to 40 active plugins and 27 abundant free themes there. So you have to clean up before you start building. And it's not a good idea to give an early access to dashboard to this sort of clients, because otherwise you can find your home page totally different from what you left it yesterday. And you'll have to actually make a very unpleasant conversation with a client about responsibilities and boundaries on project. I had it twice. I didn't like it at all. So since then, I just don't give this early access. And finally, these are the clients who hired a developer before. And they're looking for a replacement because the developer was like Jon Snow, season 6, middle of the battlefield, all covered in blood. Understanding that he's actually dying here and Sansa Stark won't come and help him. And this is difficult because, as I said, you never know what went wrong. It's easy to suggest that this type of clients are actually difficult. That's not true. I found out that every type of client can be difficult. And statistically speaking, the longer you do this, the more the chances that some of the clients will be difficult and or unhappy. And as far as I found out, the worst possible thing to do is just disappear. Stop answering emails and calls. That's what unhappy clients actually complain the most. And also, it's the second worst is like sitting quietly in the corner, missing deadline, even if you know in advance that you won't meet this deadline. So probably it's a good idea to never disappear and let client know immediately when something goes wrong. And that's probably a way to avoid dealing with a difficult client. And yes, it took me some time to understand that I cannot make everyone happy. Sometimes it's just not working out and it's okay to quit. Sometimes I didn't estimate my ability or the time needed or the money, the budget properly. And probably honest conversation. It's better than just to disappear and stop answering. I also found out that sometimes it's very easy to miss the focus of the project and to forget what the site actually should do. Because the clients are obsessed with the appearance of the website. They want it beautiful, they want it responsive, they want proper fonts, their brand colors, the logo perfectly centered. It's actually contagious, and it's easy to dive in and trying to make it pixel perfect. But if the website should provide this ability, to buy something, to register to an event, to fill in a form, to subscribe to a newsletter, if it's not working, it doesn't really matter how it looks. So probably it's a good way to deal with difficult clients. It's just never disappear, keep in touch, and focus on what should be done rather than looks, Also, I wish I could know this earlier, that it's very important to build the processes, even if you are small, even if you have just a couple of clients, you're just a beginner. Because when I kept all of that in my email, I finally couldn't answer a simple question: how many projects do you have at the moment? I said 3, and my partner said, just count. And I started counting, and it was 8. And that's how I understood why I'm not sleeping, and I don't have weekends anymore, and why I'm overwhelmed all the time. So I actually started using Trello for this. I have a separate board for every project. I give an access to this board to the client. And so the client can see what needs to be done, what's in my to-do list. The client can download content to this board. And it's less mess. Also, I'm tracking time now. I'm using FreshBooks because of their nice interface. Even though I'm not charging for time on most projects. I think it's a good practice because the next time someone asks, what's the potential deadline? I don't have to guess because I know how many hours I need on the similar project. And also, it's a good practice to probably evaluate your rates, because sometimes it looks like a small project and you say, okay, I'll do this for this small amount of money. When you take a look at how many hours it took, it sometimes looks like you'd better go to McDonald's and you'll make more. I mean, also, when I started, I used to work with live sites. When the client came and said, I need to fix this, or I need to add this functionality, I just logged into their website and started messing it up. Luckily, I have never really broken something really badly. But I stopped doing this. And now I develop either locally or build a development site. And these are procedures that probably you need to build from the very beginning. Write it down each time you do this, and the next time you'll just have a checklist. For migration processes, data migration on deploy processes is very common task. So it's probably a good idea as well, just to write it down as a checklist. So the next time it will be faster and easier. And yes, I would say to be more efficient, we probably have to reduce communication channels and not make projects in Facebook Messenger. Just probably keep this in email or in Slack instead. And finally, if there is only one thing you can also do to this client's website, what it will be for you? If just one small addition you can make. For me, it's backing up somewhere to the cloud. I actually had lots of clients with existing projects who come for some minor technical support. Sometimes it's a custom-made sites, beautiful, really pixel perfect, very nice, with no backup at all. And then I ask why. The answer is it wasn't in scope of work. But actually, I think if the client has no technical background at all, it's not her job to know that she should back up her data. It's my job as a developer to explain it to her. So that's actually my must do each time I have a project. I start from this before I even install any other new plugin. I just back it up, even if the client doesn't want to pay for it. I do it anyway. I use free tools if the client is not ready to pay. Just for my own safety and sanity, and for clients as well. Because if something goes wrong, like in a year, it gives really peace of mind to know that there is a backup somewhere there in Google Drive or in Dropbox. So actually, yes, I think it's much more important than pixel perfect design. To finalizing all this, my new life as a developer still includes lots of emails writing and, yes, mind reading, unfortunately. And my expectations were broken by the reality. It's not quite a job at all. I scream my head off each time the deploy process goes wrong. And I have particular scope of work only if I write it down myself, because I have small projects with low budgets. And yes, there is lots of mind reading and lots of communication. And yes, sometimes it's just being Jon Snow, season 6. All covered in blood, hoping desperately that Sansa Stark will come and save me. Yes, thank you very much for your time. If you have some stories, please tell.
Any questions?
Or maybe just client stories. We have a unique chance to gossip.
Questions?
No questions.
So is there any time that you've considered giving up and moving back into agency or in-house work?
You mean go into agency as a developer or just quit this completely?
Basically leaving freelancing behind.
Actually, each time deployment process goes wrong, I think about that.
And what keeps you in it?
Frankly speaking, I just love WordPress. I love the community around it. And I love that feeling, but when you do something and it works. I like the whole powers, the possibilities around it. So actually that's what keeps me going. And I really hope that I'm improving my processes, my communication with clients. I mean, I am a professional communicator, and even I got stuck when I started because it was so unexpected for me. But yes, I love WordPress, and that's probably what keeps me going.
How are you acquiring your clients?
Actually, I don't. People just keep coming because someone told them I do some stuff in WordPress. This mostly, my own freelance clients are mostly from Russian blogging community. So I helped some people there, and they just recommend me to each other. So I didn't have to advertise myself yet.
Do you turn down clients, and if so, how do you turn them down and for what reasons?
I actually did this for several times. Sometimes I did this before we started. I just said that I would really love to help, but I'm a bit overbooked at the moment, and I cannot do this like in 6 weeks. And actually, people never come back in 6 weeks. And sometimes, yes, it was because I was busy. But sometimes it was that I actually understood that I either cannot help or I really disagree with the topic of the project. I know we are here not judging, but actually doing technical stuff. But if I'm trying but still judging, what's the point taking the project and make everyone miserable, and myself included?
I just wondered how you find crowdsourcing services, whether they're kind of either undermining your business, like Upwork and the like, or conversely, whether you find business through them or whether you use them to subcontract, how do you see that?
Could you please clarify a little bit what do you
Well,
mean?
if services like Upwork or Guru, those kinds of crowdsourcing services that provide, often people who will design a website for $5 an hour or something, do you find that they are undermining the work that you have, or do you do work on those services? How do you feel about that?
I don't do work in these services, and I'm totally okay with that, because sometimes people just need like a quick fix for minor budget, and there is no need in long communication. What I do is I actually building from the beginning, from the end, and I provide support after that. After that, sometimes I write documentation, and you probably won't get this on this website. So I'm actually like working in a little bit different niche. So no, I don't feel that it undermines my business at all.
Time for one more question.
It's sort of an awkward question Kiwis don't usually ask. How do you cost out your time? How have you based your business on getting some money in the bank?
Could you please also clarify? Yeah.
Well, as a dressmaker,
Yeah.
I have an hourly rate charge.
Yeah.
I also have customers for whom I will give them a fixed price.
Yeah.
Because I know
Yeah.
that they're going to be difficult.
You know that. Yeah. I know your pain.
Yeah. So I think I'm just trying to get a handle on how. Is it the same? Is it the same
Yeah.
process? Do you cost your hourly rate? What
Uh,
do you price yourself at?
I have a hour rate for some projects here in New Zealand. It's like a very average market price. And for some projects, yes, I have a fixed price. Not because the client will be difficult, just because I know if I charge for hours, it will cost a fortune.
Right.
So I just call a fixed price that looks okay for me. Yes, I took a look what other people charge, and it's also something average. But that's it.
Yeah, okay.
Sometimes I just cannot charge it per hour because it takes long hours to force the content, the information out of the client. And if I start charging for emails, I mean, that's totally wrong, probably.
Cool. All right. I think that's the last question. Thank you very much. Gavin and
I
about 5
survived the
minutes.
experience.